and he's been playing Morgana recently. We're first picking the Winsandra, as our match points called it. Winsandra is gone. A lot's open, though, because the Jace is taken off, but no very clear, obvious shouting at the top of your lungs first picks other than Kalista and Ryze. And you have to choose your poison here. It feels like Gen.G will take Ryze in first rotation on red side. I'd be surprised not to see it. Kalista is prized over a lot of other picks, and I gotta say, I don't know if this is necessarily the right way to go, because you're never going to be able to take away a core tenet of Rule as Champion. Yeah, so I actually think that ignoring Rule as Champion pool completely in the ban phase does make a lot of sense. Not too bad there from the Afreeca Freecs, and Ruler is going to get his most winning champion in the Ezreal at the moment. If you've been having a look at his solo queue, I think he's 10-2 on the Ezreal at this point in time. And yet, despite the fact that, yes, against Fade's Call, you have the Tahm Kench, and Ezreal Tahm Kench used to be the Ruler and Core JJ special, I look at this first round for where Gen.G is in 2019, and I'm not as impressed, Atlas. Yeah. I don't feel like they have the macro to necessarily be able to play around the roaming duo that has priority at 2 items in the mid lane, Ezreal and Tahm Kench. It will be safe, but I'm not sure if it'll have the same upside it used to have for Gen.G. I think Gen.G need to have a Tahm Kench, though, because I feel like Afreeca Freecs play split push so incredibly well, and the best way to try and deny that is by picking up the Abyssal Voyage so you can follow around the lanes. I understand that as a mechanic, but then I see life, and I want to see him on Gragas or Rakan, right? Yeah. I want to see him on Engage, so Tahm Kench, it almost feels like when Tucson was miscast on so many games of Tahm Kench last year. They've got his mind around the Tahm Kench this year, but when Afreeca Freecs were locking in Tahm Kench last year, you were never happy to see it. But this lock-in wouldn't necessarily be the worst one. They're picking between Zoe and Orianna, picks that aren't necessarily huge winning picks for Fly, but he's had command of these 2 picks over and above some of the other available options. Ori versus Ryze is a classic matchup that Ori has some good moments in, so don't mind the choice here by Fly, even though it does mean some real passivity in the early game. And also means absolutely no flexibility in this draft thus far. We know exactly where all of these champions are going from day dot. They will have a chance to flex between the jungle and top lane position, but top lane counterpick will be more difficult when we're looking for a jungler next time around. It's not like there's a potential flex for that mid lane as well. So the Vladimir going to be banned away. I respect that ban a lot, with the Ryze already being picked up on Afreeca's side. And now you say that Gen.G are going to pick their jungler, because blind picking for QV doesn't necessarily seem smart. With Keen yet to pick, so unless they go for the Kennen or something like that he's confident in. The problem there is that they already have 1 flex draft on the side of Afreeca, so then you're really playing into there being a lot of shenanigans to deal with. I think Afreeca will just pick the strongest available laner for Keen and then have their own lane swap options. Aatrox would have been that, but it was banned away by Gen.G. So let's see their approach. I feel like Peanut hasn't been able to vindicate last pick junglers with his performance outside of some okay games in recent memory. So they just go for power. Now, always a bit risky when you have Orianna, Ezreal as your lanes to guarantee that you'll have tempo advantage in multiple lanes to make something out of the Olaf. Olaf will be selected anyway. And for action on Afreeca Freecs, they don't see QV's champion, but they seem to be happy with the blind pick Ryze, and there aren't too many top laners that have the 1v1 matchup into Ryze. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one for QV to really do battle against, and I absolutely love this composition. From the Afreeca Freecs, you round it out with the Zoe, you create all of that mid-game power, and you augment the Kalista that's already so strong at that point of the game. QV's going to go back to an old favorite here in the Gnar, and we've got the Gnar-Orianna combo that Gen.G have loved for many, many years. Gotta say, ball carriers here, pretty reliable. Yeah. Olaf's going to get there, and Gnar could get there in the biggest way possible. So, a lot to like in terms of the ball carriers, but Gen.G needs some specific setups, right? They need some things to come together. It feels like their checklist is longer and more complicated than Afreeca Freecs, who have a lot of point-and-click CC. If the Trouble Bubble hits, if the Rune Prison hits, even if Alistar gets going, it's more straightforward. So given that these are, 5 match wins and 4 match wins respectively, I'm going to say that Afreeca have the easier to execute comp, and if Gen.G gets snowballing, good things can happen, but more often than not, in their current plight, I'm going to be on Team Afreeca Freecs. Yeah, and I just feel like it's a little bit more one-dimensional on the side of Gen.G. Coaches are going to shake hands. Game number 1 is prepared for us. Just feels like Afreeca do have a few more options as to how this game is going to go. Moving into the very late game, if, gold is irrelevant, things like that, I look at Gen.G and I think that teamfight comp looks pretty good.
That being said, getting past the mid-game against the Zoe Callista composition with the Fates call on an Alistar of all champions, you're going to be having a pretty good time, and then late-game insurance in the Rise that can be split pushing to high heaven in the hands of Keen is so scary.
The name we need to be worshipping for this to be a Gen.G victory in the early game is Peanut. Peanut needs to make things happen in swinging lanes that are easier to gank and easier to execute for Afreeca Freecs. If Peanut has a day out, then this could certainly be a game where he is the one who is the pivot and inflection point that gets Gen.G to 2-3 items on their big carries.
Yeah, if this Olaf actually has the space to press Ragnarok and carry a ball into the enemy team, they just straight up win the game. However, he could be in a position where he just melts to the hands of the damage.
Oh yes, Atlas. Oh yes.
Consistent damage is certainly something that Afreeca have. We'll see whether they can make it work in game 1. Gen.G fans always so passionate here at LoL Park. You hear that scream of desperation. This could save Gen.G's relegation life. They're able to pick up this victory here.
If you're a KT fan watching on, you want to see Afreeca Freecs win, because if Gen.G win, it feels like basically the gods are against you, right?
Yeah.
Like the gods are against you at that point. You need so many things to align. Your small chance goes to basically a one-off chance that involves so many conditionals going your way. So because of that, they need Afreeca Freecs to pick up the victory. Looking at runes here, and we got another Conqueror Lee Sin. This is by no means an automatic choice, and after the latest Conqueror nerf, I'm not a huge fan of it. But if you're doing some extended scrapping, and when a fight starts, Afreeca have a lot of ways to keep a fight going with hard CC.
Yeah.
Conqueror can have some interesting brawling synergies.
Speaking of which, already brawling on the bottom side of the map, Life just going to take a couple of sticks to his face, and then licks Jelly to even out that trade.
Right now, both junglers are starting bottom side. Olaf no leash onto his blue buff. We'll see if that coalesces in a 2v2 in the top lane very, very early, or even a fight over the scuttle. Looking in the mid lane, we're seeing this more and more on the Zoe, going Unsealed Spellbook to have access to more summoners to get those more sparkles off. As Dread is scouted here.
Yeah, and already a flash from Life. Dread says, I don't even need to enter the lane, and I have a successful gank. Not bad at all.
Was a trade, though. Jelly's flash is down as well.
That's
so, because of that, there is going to be a bit of parity. First axe, or the first Q, is always big here, and very hard to hit Peanut. He's actually dodging behind the Rift Scuttle.
Yep, running pretty quickly, but it is going to be Dread that picks up that Rift Scuttler, as Jelly did have priority on the bottom side of the map. It's just a game of rock, paper, scissors, but it's actually won by the Afreeca Freecs based on where the minion wave was.
What's your go-to in rock, paper, scissors? I feel like everyone has kind of a
I'm lazy, I just go rock.
Really?
By default.
You just wait, are you a guy
then you
who
don't need to worry about timing.
I was going to say, do you also just walk around with like a fist at all times? You're just always ready for a bit of biffo?
I'm ready for a rock, paper, scissors off, don't you worry.
A true Aussie.
Yeah.
Always ready for a fight.
Yeah. Some biffo. Just don't bring the
paper. Biffo?
Don't bring the paper. All right.
I'm down with that. Yeah, I'm down with that.
I don't want that.
We'll keep the paper away. It's almost tax season, so I'm scared of paper right now.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Don't catch me. Well, Afreeca, Dread is still looking for a lot of ganks. Definitely not power farming to 6, and his counter jungling is at least going to delay the red buff take for Peanut.
Oh, that's a cute little Q. Blast Cone's going to get Peanut to safety, though, out of the release range of the Resonating Strike, as Dread looking to steal this one away and could be heading towards a 3-buff.
He's got those lanes, right?
3-buff double scuttle, Papa Smithy.
We knew Orianna was going to be hanging back. We knew the lanes were a lot more conditional for Gen.G in the early game, and Dread says thank you very much. He had his English headset on, apparently.
Oh my goodness.
He's got that buff down, and Olaf a bit on welfare for this early game.
He denied Peanut his Krug camp for so long just by hitting a Q. That's just insane. Peanut just has absolutely no priority in the rest of his lanes, and therefore he needs to wait until Cuvée can actually come around before he can even try and challenge for his Krug camp, let alone his red buff. That's already gone. 3-buff has happened. Double scuttle has happened. And we've seen a lot of this Lee Sin picked into the Olaf. It does work out very well in the first few levels just because the first clear of the Olaf is so low and the executability of the Lee Sin is so high. However, we haven't seen a schooling like this in a long time.
Exactly. It's a skill matchup that's very close to being a true 50-50 based on just tempo. We know Olaf from ahead is so annoying to deal with. The only lane that I think can get going is Cuvée with a few more levels can do well against the Rise outside of gank attempts. But that just hadn't happened. It was a awkward lane spot for Cuvée to respond, and Honestly, it feels like Peanut's been kind of oh bother territory. He's role-playing Winnie the Pooh in the early game. And that's just not where you want to be. He's not getting his honey, but he's looking for honey, Atlas, and it's actually in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, he's heading towards the bottom side of the map at the moment, but Dread has been mirroring him quite nicely. That's a good ward, but you can see the level advantage from Dread. He's got a red buff. He's got a blue buff. He's very comfortable. And that first blue buff that Peanut was able to miraculously pick up, it feels like in the early game, has worn off. Now he's looking for a Gromp camp. It's like only Bertha is his friend in the jungle at the moment.
Needs to find a winning lane to jungle around, because otherwise he's going to be waiting 2.5-minute intervals for his camps to respawn, which is not ideal. It was very smart of Dread after his back to run bot lane, because either he's counter-ganking or stopping the Krog camp. It's TP.
Yeah, teleport to come in. Immediately, Aiming's going to be following in here as well, as that's going to be the Q landing onto life. He's very dead. The flash still hasn't come back up. And First Blood goes to Aiming as just he enters the lane once again.
And it's the 200 IQ Afreeca plays they were known for in 2018 that have just almost abandoned them this year. It's a multi-part play around pressure, TP advantage, and a flash being on cooldown. It's just awesome to see from them.
And Dread just straight up doesn't care what Peanut's going to do here in this lane at the moment. Walks over a ward, puts down another control ward there as his first one was cleared out. But that is going to be the only positive thing that Peanut's managed to figure out so far in this game. And these Qs that are just blind from Dread keep hitting things.
Dread is certainly styling on his Lee Sin. This is a player who was uniquely qualified to be one of the big differences between Griffin and Afreeca last year. I think actually we would have seen Tarzan take some inspiration from Dread, who was blind picking Kindred, who was taking early Kha'Zix. He is the aggressive jungler to take notes from it. Yes, he makes mistakes, but he always has that aggressive instinct that Korean junglers in the past haven't really had. We think of someone like Haru as one of the more aggressive junglers, and sadly not playing so much in 2019. And as he finally kind of becomes big enough for his britches over the course of 2019, it's nice to see him actually get some of these aggressive games going and become the jungler that I think he's trying to grow into.
And I think a lot of us were expecting from him as well, because he was one of these young guns that was going to come and change the jungling in the LCK to be more fast-paced, more reckless. As speaking of reckless, Peanut's going to be running forward, has the Predator available, so gets to his blue buff. In time to try and stop at least Afreeca from challenging it at this moment. But yeah, I think a lot of us did have that expectation, but we knew that he's a young player, right? So he's going to take a while to really figure out the LCK, get himself onto this stage and feel comfortable. Starting to look like he is as he misses that Q, but Peanut has pulled the blue buff to relative safety.
But it's going to, will it fully reset? It doesn't fully reset. That's actually quite a patient blue buff.
Yeah, it's a very patient blue buff for the moment. Trouble Bubble's going to come in here as there's the resonating strike, but Peanut has a good smite button. Holds onto that one. True Shot Barrage brings Dread down to about 200 health.
They want to force him to recall to try to take some camps against him here. That's what Peanut is looking for. For once, there's actually a pretty low health bar on Dread, but he can just disengage into his red buff, smite up to be able to get some life back.
Yeah, he is going to be okay there as well. Good vision available, and Sun is going to have this lane well and truly under control. He's got himself an Ignite with the Unsealed Spellbook, so that extra lane control is going to be helpful here for the Zoe.
Dread was in Challengers Korea last year as one of these young guns people were looking at. His name then was Twinkle, which definitely was a name that sounds like a very young player, right? Twinkle to Dread is almost...
Twinkle is just a way better name, though, to be honest.
But isn't it a bit of a two-faced moment? Because Twinkle and Dread are pretty much the opposite in terms of what you pick up. The connotations of those names could not be any different.
It's a coming-of-age story, I think.
Well, we've definitely watched him start to come of age in recent weeks after some down moments earlier.
Pretty easy headbutt pull there from Jelly, but the Devourer is going to cancel that one out very nicely. At this point, it's damage control, though. Aiming is close to a 10 CS advantage on the bottom side of the map, and also has that first blood.
So if you're a 16-year-old jungler and you name yourself Twinkle, then you hit 17, I'm growing up in the LCK. I'm Dread. What's his next name? Like, what's the third name after those two?
I don't know. Senility? That doesn't sound like it's that awe-inspiring. But I guess you hold on to Dread for quite a few years.
Maybe he
until you're dreadful.
Maybe he forms a hard duo with Aiming and becomes auditing.
Yeah, or retirement.
Come on, we want Dread around for a while. No retirement implications.
Oh no, I'm saying that he holds on to it for a long time, Huxley. Well, Dread's going to be around for a while, guys. I wouldn't be waiting for his next name.
That's kind of the Afreeca story. Even though Sun has kind of been around the pro scene for a while, There was the interview with Pawn, who talked about how Sun was a previous trainee in KT.
Yeah.
Back in 2017 summer, when KT went to Rift Rivals, they needed a 6th player. At the time, it was only the Fab 5 of Smeb, Score.
Yeah, UCal hadn't actually started yet.
Yeah, no UCal. Rush wasn't on the roster. It was just Smeb, Score, Pawn, Deft, and Mata. They needed a 6th player, and it ended up eventually being Sun, who was their nominal sub. Never played a game for KT. Went to Ever8 in Challengers when they were relegated, and played pretty well. That's where I got to understand is Zoe and Anivia was 2 big picks. Now playing for the Afreeca Freecs. So he's still on the younger end, but has been around the system for a couple of years.
Yeah, certainly paid his dues at least a little bit. And now he's on his favorite pick here in the mid lane, having a very comfortable time against Fly. That being said, I mean, Fly is also not going to get hindered too much here in this laning phase.
I mean, the hindering's been on Peanuts, just because of the inactivity of the drop. We're kind of going to watch and see just how many nice objectives you can get. We talked about how Gen.G had that multi-point checklist of things that had to come together. Orianna might be reaching a point where she can control waves well, but her time for actually impacting teamfights, as we know, is about ability power. Those base damages on the shockwave especially, definitely nothing to write home about.
Yeah, we also know that Orianna basically does nothing in the mid game if you haven't had any sort of acceleration. And we're heading towards that exact kind of Orianna as Sun is going to deliver him a Paddle Star. That does too much damage.
I think Fly should have cleansed there. We often see players who take cleanse against Zoe using it to disrupt damage. Like, you don't expect to be burst from full by any means, but now you're already thinking about recalling or chugging all of your corrupting potion. Yes, there was no kill pressure on that, but now you have less lane control than you had before, and once again, Peanut will be the main person affected by that.
And also the rest of the team, because I think Shelly should be able to be taken, because that's instant priority there in the mid lane. Cuvee gets to his Mega Gnar, but that's going to wear down, and Keen is going to set up shop. Peanut comes into the mid lane, misses an undertow,
and Jelly's here.
They watch this go down.
This is the leashing that we saw from Tarzan, if you remember, leashing it to this position to the left here. No smite steal. Jelly walks up first. We're seeing Afreeca, who again have the more easy on paper draft to execute, doing some next levels here. Jelly's first to roam. They had the great teleport play down bot lane. This is really nice to see from Afreeca. They seem sharper than at any other point. And maybe a 2-match win streak was all they were looking for. And
also a redemption just stopped the back of Fly as well, so this could be a couple of turret plates, actually a whole lot of turret plates, because Shelly's going to join in. Afreeca are smashing down on Gen.G in this early game, and it's just beautiful to watch. Peanut taking so much damage there from that Paddle Star, and Sun even finds this. This could be a lot of damage. Fly has to use the Devour. That gets a lot of extra damage there from Shelly.
Man, the mid lane and the bot lane were the nicest places on paper, but we couldn't have known 27 CS because Tom Kench went down, lost splash earlier, then died. And mid lane, 17 CS. That's also multiple turret plates that have gone down. If you notice, Gen.G, they would love a turret play to be a dream of theirs, but unfortunately, it's going to be an unfulfilled dream. In fact, even just getting an auto attack for the Gnar would be lovely.
Yeah. This is not going to be the terrifying Gnar that can split push your way to victory. Not this game.
At least not unless it reads 35 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
You can go builds to make Ryze look very squishy. Black Cleaver into a second item like a Frozen Mallet, 5 points in Hyper, so we're getting to level 13. Then yes. I mean, Ryze is going to build AP and health, so you can do a lot of damage to him there. But before that point, it's going to be a lot more even, and like we know, Dread has a lot more fangs in this game than Olaf.
Precisely. The thing that I think is really, really cool as well is because Afreeca have already shown us that they're happy to make these really cool and inventive plays. They've got a Realm Warp and one of the best Baron secures in the game. We could get to around that 20-25 minute mark and just have the Afreeca Freecs steal away a Baron. They've already got vision control around that area after the Rift Herald went down, and yes, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but they want to be ending this game early, and they've got so many tools in order to do it.
Now, they have Ren, they have Secure. The only thing they're missing on my Baron checklist, I always talk about ability to turn off Baron, ability to burst the Baron, how fast you do it, and also
Baron,
the Secure,
guess,
right? They don't tank it so well. That's their big issue, is that an extended Baron, their turn is so pronounced that the enemy says, maybe we'll take our time and be a bit more respectful around this, rather than, oh crap, they're definitely going to finish it. So because of that, it is a little bit of a struggle to actually get Gen.G to walk up, but if they do, one Devour is not going to be enough. You fly in with an Alistar, and even he alone after Fate's Call has got a whole lot going on in terms of knock-ups. So I take your point. Trouble bubbles are one of the most annoying things to deal with over the pit, so Because of that, Afreeca keep the pedal to the metal, and that control ward could be cleared out quickly if Afreeca feel that they're safe enough to do so.
Yep, they just watched Ruler go home, though. He's going to teleport to get back into this lane most likely. He has himself the Ninja Tabi, as well as his Manamune and a Sheen. So the Ezreal is on track to leveling up, but he's still over 30 CS behind. As Afreeca are looking for a 4-man dive, the Fate Skull, like you were talking about, is going to be available. That's going to be Devour on cooldown very early, and that could just be the end of this turret. Peanut comes in, is going to deter the Afreeca Freecs, who are not going to bite off more than they can chew at this particular moment.
But you know how when we have Shen in the game and Shen support, or even Shen top is defensively ulting every time, we talk about it's not good enough? If Peanut is popping his Predator off cooldown to just stop a turret dive, he ain't doing anything. And his role in the game with an item disadvantage is not going to be great as the game goes on. 6 turret plates to 0. 960 of the gold lead so far is just turret plates. And
ultimate out there from Peanut. That means that this Infernal Drake should be delivered over to the Afreeca Freecs. No backstop there from Ruler with the True Shot Barrage. Gen.G do have their chess pieces in order to try and get down here to challenge, but that's a lot of buttons that they're missing for this fight.
They're lovingly painting a car red and putting the big stripes on it. It looks like it goes fast, but they don't have an engine atlas. That's the problem. It doesn't go brum brum. And
you need it to go brum brum.
I know. Brum brum is the core tenet of an engine and thus the ability to drive.
And Olaf in general as a champion. He needs to go brum brum into the backline. He's not going to brum brum anywhere.
We did a really good job of pushing forward two people's exasperation to speed.
This might just be Dread doing too much damage to this dragon. Does land the Sonic Wave.
I believe in you,
Dread. But Pulv not going to be able to get it there as we're even on the Infernal Drake's jelly. Looking for this trample stun as the Meganar is in great timing. That was a very weird resonating strike, but one that works out for Peanut. As now Gen.G are on the run. They're trying to get away with this dragon and their lives. Looks like Life is going to be the one to go down, but that's the only kill. That pun was horrendous, but unfortunately it was just going to happen.
Sometimes Life hits you in the face. This time it's Life getting hit in the face. As Sun's looking for more, actually. That was a pilfered flash, but not going to be something that he's going to be able to pick up a kill there. The leashing of the Drake, like you say, was a bit too all in, so they found an engine after all. They find some life if the game goes long enough. I know that wasn't on purpose. That one just fell into my lap.
Yeah.
And they're going to lose out an objective for it. It's still going to be some more immediate gold. But at least now, maybe you shave 40 seconds to a minute off the time where Orianna starts to do some trade damage. She has her one-item spike. They're going to be able to fight now, as Dread having to disengage was the start of this important Drake take for Gen.G.
Yeah, and also, holding on to the Q here, knew that he wasn't going to have Safeguard back off. On time, uses it right as that cooldown comes back up, but as you can see, that was too late. The Realm Warp to get Keen in just to try and take down Ruler, but he's by himself and has to use his flash defensively and aiming, actually investing his flash to just get this kill onto the Tahm Kench. Is a lot of investment here for the Afreeca Freecs to only get one kill and lose the dragon.
Yeah, 3 flashes to get a kill and lose Infernal is not even a sideways trade, it's a trade down.
Yeah.
On the side of Afreeca means their playmaking is going to be a little bit less reliable, but good news, Gen.G have also got multiple summoners down. They're doing a good job of controlling this river. Actually, Jelly's on a bit of a walkabout here.
Yeah, the cow getting corralled just a little bit here. He does have the ultimate available. That's a big pulverize, but Jelly's just dead.
Yeah, the ultimate's actually still on cooldown, Atlas. You would assume it would be, but still level 1, so ultimate on cooldown. Now, they'll lose mid lane turret. They lost the bot lane turret earlier. Chunk out doesn't actually happen onto Sun there, but it looks like there's going to be an answering objective in Gen.G, who still want to get their items going, are getting a bit more gold injected as Afreeca taking their pedal off of the accelerator.
Yeah, just a little bit, but Sun and Keen are going to come up with that Realm Warp. Peanut already at half health as the Paddle Star is going to go wide. Fair bit of damage. Sun's going to get slowed down, but Dread just takes life into his own hands. He's going to get rid of Peanut. Fly coming in with Shockwave at the ready, but the disengage has already happened for the Afreeca Freecs. They've taken one. Trouble Bubble lands onto the Tahm Kench. Another Paddle Star would do it, but didn't quite have it off cooldown just yet. Sun is starting to get to frustrating stage on this Zoe. The mid game is coming in fast.
But your worry is, can Afreeca keep up the vision control to continue to make proactive plays like this? Oh, the back onto life is actually pretty relevant when it comes to getting the setup here to stop the last outer turret from going down. Gen.G, if there's an ARAM state, if this just ends up with 5v5 in the top lane, no one really advancing their position, and gold actually trickles to both sides, it suits Gen.G. They want this game to be a white flag being raised and more gold being in the game, and if it's still 5k gold lead, and Gen.G read 50,000, where right now they read 28,000. They're just a stronger lineup because of the 5v5 setup. More often than not, no guarantees, of course, when we're bottom of the table. Gonna watch the replay here. It's just another big chase to try to find some kills onto Gen.G.
Yep, and it's Keen getting a lot of damage onto Peanut there for free. Dread finishing it off. It was a pretty nice pickup, but just not a lot the Olaf could do without his flash available. He was the sacrificial lamb here on Gen.G's side, and they were trying to make a play on a turret for the first time this game and got incredibly hard punished for it. Now Aiming is sitting on a Vamp Scepter as well as his first 2 items. Bloodthirster coming up pretty fast. 750 gold bounty here and still has a gigantic CS lead in 40 minions ahead of Ruler.
I mean, just look at how many minions have been claimed by Afreeca that have died to the turrets of Gen.G. Just start doing some quick math. 24 CS in top, 22 CS in the mid lane, so we're already talking about 46 CS, and then 40-odd CS there. So we're talking 86 CS. The Gen.G just lost out. Maybe Peanut picked up a couple, but it's probably some camps rather than lane minions. So let's be generous, say what, 70 CS?
It's close to 2,000 gold in the lead just from
How does that happen, Atlas? The way that happens is that Afreeca are saying, we want to fight here, we want to take this objective, and Gen.G are giving up CS in other lanes to force it to be a 3v3 or 4v4 from tempo disadvantage. They're using their proactive tools defensively just to try to elongate the game, and they're losing farm to the creeps because they were so greedy in the draft, and predictably the early game went ahead. For Afreeca and against Gen.G.
And it's exactly what you're talking about, right? They managed to get that pickoff onto Jelly, but they needed to invest everyone in order to do that. They lose their bottom outer turret. They lose their mid outer turret. They just need to invest more in order to take the minimum, as Sun has to invest his flash to keep him safe on the top side of the map. Fly is going to at least have 1 melee minion's worth of time. Try and take this one down. Crucial Barrage is not going to be able to get rid of the Ocean Drake.
Another Infernal as the 4th spawn, though. So
goodness, it's a fiery day today.
That's the move. How many items with all the CS you lost to the turrets can Gen.G field to fight at 26 minutes? I think you're quite bold to give a 2nd Infernal to the side of Afreeca, because then those picks just stick way harder, right? And you're more likely to get that first kill. The Baron threat you were talking about, there's going to be no sneaks, and because they don't have the most tankiness, it's going to be a lot harder, you would imagine, to actually finish this objective. And you notice they're giving a lot of respect to the back of the pit, where a ball can come over the wall and leash the Baron or lead to a shockwave. They don't want to deal with any shenanigans, so for now, being respectful as the Baron force is not going to be on the move.
Yeah, I feel like when you've got Aiming and Keen to very strong levels in this game, maybe past the 30-minute mark, then you can just Realm Warp a Callista into the pit alongside a Ryze and have everyone else playing interference, and you should be able to take that Baron relatively quickly. Just with Ryze's passive giving him that shield, the fact that he does do a lot of consistent DPS alongside the Callista so well.
Ooh, Afreeca Sun has the default summons here.
All right, that's the flash headbutt pole, but Ruler's able to get out of there. Can he actually get the knock-up? The kick's unnecessary there from Dread as Ruler just gets obliterated. It's a huge investment, but they get their man.
And this has been Afreeca. They're using flash on Aiming multiple times to get picks, so they want to get kills, and they're thinking about Baron. They're thinking about the secure of their end. They're on it already.
Whoa! That's a big flash. Fantastic portal jump, but it's not going to be enough, as they do manage to make their way back in. The Afreeca Freecs have started this Baron, but now losing their mid laner will mean that this Baron is not going to go down.
And that was actually really decisive from Gen.G, and maybe more decisive and earlier than perhaps they knew they needed to be. But getting that pick resets the Baron threat that Afreeca was about to set up for.
Yeah, and now BF Sword is on Aiming. Didn't have that money's worth of items as they started off that Baron play, and Trinity Force is done alongside the Muramana transformation. Ruler is pretty scary at this mid-game point.
So it's a big investment to pick up the kills. It's Fate's Call into Flash, Headbutt, Pulverize. They kill Ruler, and Afreeca say, we've got Ren, let's Baron. So Gen.G, more than they may already understand, needed a pick here, otherwise they would lose so much. Sun, honestly, is really, really far up. He's not punished to begin, but Afreeca's call is, let's go on to Baron, and then Sun doesn't have Flash. That's already knowledge to Gen.G, and the cute portal jump not enough to abate the Baron threat from Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, the avoiding of the shockwave was definitely a cute little play, but ultimately didn't actually mean anything, as you're going to go back to that location, and there were 4 members of Gen.G. So nicely played from Gen.G to keep themselves in this one, but it's 4,000 gold the lead for the Afreeca Freecs, and this is their domain at this stage. Yes. 25 minutes is about to tick up, and this is exactly where Zoe has the best time. This is where Aiming is going to have his most relevant item spike. I think Bloodthirster does make things a bit better, but Ruler's found him and he's just dead. That face check is just not what you want. Thought that they had more map control than they thought they did, and the Afreeca Freecs are starting to get ahead of themselves.
There's a lane control ward in mid from Gen.G, so I would assume they didn't have minions pushing that area, so it's a very strange time to walk in, and aiming honestly just has a brain fart. That's the way I'm going to call it. Brain fade is the nice way to say it, but this had a bigger impact than that. That is actually Gen.G probably getting Baron control that they should never have at this point out of nowhere.
Yep. And that 25-minute mark does come in, but that's a Kalista that just gave away an 800 gold bounty.
I need to see the replay to understand why he thinks he has priority here. He clears a ward, they don't have minions or a lane ward, he just straight up dies.
Yeah. I think we call that, that's almost into. That was good positional advantage there from Gen.G.
That was really, really poor situational awareness from a pro player, and aiming isn't a rookie anymore. No. He's now been a full-time pro player. He did share some time with Kramer, but he played more competitive games over the course of 2018. I know people that watched Worlds and then the LCK might not be aware of that, but he was the starter. He was for the majority of the year. That was a very, very weird face check, just given there was a lane control, and as we know, a control ward in the River Brush. He just kind of lazily popped in, and shouldn't be surprised that he got summarily dispatched by Rule.
And Ruler also getting all of that gold is just insult to injury. Goes back, gets himself Bilgewater Cutlass and his next tier. And he's just stacking, getting towards the unkillable Ezreal stage where you can't jump on top of him and he just does too much damage with these Mystic shots.
See glass half empty Ezreal of, well, he doesn't have as much CS, at least his build isn't that expensive, even Triforce. Hope doesn't do too much, and aiming's low already.
Yep, True Shot Barrage is going to come down. Jelly gets a double knockup, but the Fate Skull is going to have to be invested just to get the Alistair out of there. Now it's just the Raptor camp that's going to come in, and Afreeca Freecs trying to hold on to this lead.
They sometimes say that if you yawn, it's contagious, laughter can be contagious. I think aiming's step up has led to a couple of just brain fades from the side of Afreeca. And it's a very consequential timing of Whoopsie. Now the scaling comp that didn't look like it was going to have time to scale has got double Infernal. We know that if they hit 45, 50k gold, they're going to be truly online. Gen.G getting invitations, and we're now feeling like it is the bottom three competing because Afreeca have really been off the boil in the past 5 minutes.
Well, now Gen.G have a pretty easy game plan to hold on to, right? It's just, we let ourselves scale. We don't need to go for any more challenges on Drakes for the next 10 minutes because the next one is going to be an Ocean that's going to be spawning in 4.5. And now all they need to do is try and keep at least a ward or something on the Baron pit and just scale, 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 until they can have a Ragnarok run into the back line and deliver a ball. And that's just going to kill all of the Afreeca Freecs.
It's so hard for Afreeca to get red side control behind the Baron pit because they have to walk up, and then I guess Ryze is popping his Surf Shield pretty early, right? Glory maybe Ryze and Alistair going in, maybe get one round, but they can't just keep dipping over. It's not a poke comp on the side of Gen.G, it's a teamfight comp where any one threat might have the ball and thus even more threat than first appears. And then if you just say, oh, screw it, let's try to rush down the Baron, your team is squishy like we mentioned, and yes, you have Secure, you have Speed, but the enemy has Orianna, Gnar, and Ezreal who can all poke you over the wall. Even Olaf can throw an axe, so you're going to take damage, and thus your squishy health bar is going to be vacant nice and early. Double lifesteal on aiming's not going to be enough, and suddenly the path to victory, the path to the first 3 turrets and CS leads, that was easy. This path, they're trying to brute force it, and Dready's patrolling to try to see what they can get done.
Yeah, Fly, you can see coming in on that top side. Cubate's going to be a little bit late to this one, but does have himself the teleport, but the Narbar is not quite there. Trouble Bubble flies over the wall. They know that one is now on cooldown. It
might be YOLO time, Atlas.
This one out. It is going to be a 50-50, but remember, the Ren does exist as Keen. Oh! He's going to be able to play spoiler, but Peanut plays the most, picks up the Baron, just flashes in there and steals it away.
What was happening? He has spied on Dread. Where was the timing at?
Where was the Ren? Oh my God.
I think the Ren came in and no smite followed it. We're going to have to see the replay to confirm it. Here's an all-in anyway.
Yeah, Afreeca Freecs trying to get in there. That's Jelly getting a decent headbutt. Pulverize. Life has to flash to get out of the way as Keen's just trying to get into spell range. Trouble Bubble is going to land, but he can't get the overloads down on top. Cubase disrupting in the backline. Dread not able to get the kick flash. It's another Trouble Bubble. It's fantastic there from Sun, but the Blast Cone gets life out of there, and they don't lose any of their Barons.
Oh boy, Afreeca Freecs making it so tricky for themselves. Gen.G is looking like they might actually have been able to outlast Afreeca in spite of all the odds here. KT fans around. I joined in unison at wondering how this possibly could have happened because Afreeca was so far on top.
Yep. They basically had so many different ways to win this game. There was one way that Gen.G was going to do it, and they secured it.
All right, so a lot of spears remember 50% Ren damage these days. What happens here? We're at 1600. Ren was used early, like I mentioned, and then Dread was just kind of watching as Peanut gets in. You don't order it that way when you're against an Olaf. He always gets in the pit. He's Olaf.
Ren
it's the
does
one thing
the
he can
most
do.
damage. Oh my goodness.
And that's where you remember there's two really young players who apparently didn't talk to each other around the Ren Smite interaction, and now they just look real silly.
Yeah. That was almost unforgivable there from Dread. There was a lot of time where that Baron was just sitting on 400 health.
So Dread made two mistakes. He didn't smite, but you know what also he did, Atlas?
What did he do?
He didn't just smite a bad guy afterwards, but, oh, smite, you know?
Yeah, there was another player that did that. I'm trying to, who was that?
It happened before.
Yeah,
it was so funny.
I think it might have been, in fact, Peanut that did that.
What you do is, the tactical thing to do is you just smite an enemy champ, and then you're like,
I missed
out. In the VOD review, they know you're guilty, but the comms right now are a lot clearer than the VOD
Yeah, it keeps
review.
the mental clean in the game. Yeah, I think that's definitely a thing that you got to do. Dread didn't even manage to figure that one out as another party warp comes in.
Who's partying though, Atlas?
Looking for Ruler. Keen's very fast with this phase rush, is now live. Gets the spit out over the wall, but he's going to get punished for it. Has a lot of great health, but not a lot of health bars. Now Dread getting kited by Ruler. Another Mystic Shot is going to land. Dread is going to survive for so long. That's going to be the shield from Ruler, the last tick of the Ignite, but it doesn't matter. There's just so much damage available. And now it's just aiming against the world. The crush comes in. Aiming gets over that wall. That's a really cute play. Can they actually get on top? There are so many sticks. The wall-up comes forward. The rend is used early, though, and isn't able to pick up Peanut. But Aiming says, all right, you want some more? You can have it if you want to come get it.
Aiming almost pulled off the biggest outplay on Kalista we've seen in multiple years. You still give him the benefit of the doubt. That was sick outplay onto the two of them there. He can't pick up the kills. Remember, though, they're getting rid of Baron Bus on the side of Gen.G, even though overall they trade down one.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jelly didn't get into the Realm Warp at the start of this one. I thought that might have been an error here from the Afreeca Freecs that could have stopped this. And you saw, with the amount of backline threat that Gen.G has with this Gnar, Ruler keeps himself alive for way too long for this to go well for the Afreeca Freecs.
And remember, Afreeca are mostly about killing one person. So Ruler does die at the end. Big shout out to Aiming on how he plays out the end of this fight, because it looks like he's just wasting a summoner. He gets over the wall with the hop. The moment the Cuvée comes over in Mega Gnar form, it's Olaf and Gnar. What are they going to do? They can't do any damage to him. If he had got the double kill here, it would have been a play that lasts forever. Awesome play from Aiming. But honestly, he needs to do better. He needs one more of those post-haste, because he was also the one that started the dominoes going the way of Gen.G.
Yeah, Afreeca Freecs are going to look for their second Drake, and third Drake of the game, in the second Ocean Drake.
That was Prey in the audience, by the way.
Yes, it was.
So shout out to Prey, who's also in the audience, seeing old friends.
Yep, of course, former teammate of Peanut. So probably hoping that Peanut's going to be able to pick up a victory today.
It was confirmed, I believe, that Peanut was the one who invited him the last time he came to the audience for KT Gen.G as well. So good to know. I guess the camaraderie still there between the two. Will Prey be back in summer is a question that
I think a lot of people
are wondering.
I was going to say praying for it. And
because
I was going to do it.
The funny thing is that the orgs that are going to be in relegation are also the orgs that should have money, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we're going to have Sandbox in relegation. You can say, okay, they're a newly promoted team. They're going to be struggling. They might not be able to afford a very tenured player like Prey. Theoretically, the teams that think they should be in playoffs and just won't be, KT, Gen.G, and Afreeca. Obviously, Gen.G have Ruler, but there's always considerations to be had. Some of the other teams, we can push in here, and
oh my god, he's almost just dead. True Shot Barrage is going to miss, and Jelly's going to block that Mystic Shot. Ruler still wants it, though. He's so aggressive. The Undertow picks it up in the end, as now Jelly is going to die as an afterthought. No, does have the Fate Skull to keep him alive. Afreeca Freecs lose their Zoe, though, in a situation where he was just trying to poke.
Yes, but the time to poke was way earlier, Atlas. The double Inferno cashed up. 60,000 gold Gen.G that we alluded to that just looked like it would never happen when they were 84 CS down, dead to turrets. They find the CS, they find Barons, they find things that should never have gone their way, and now they break the base.
Yep, they do. It's just the death of the Zoe that's going to be enough to get them all at this pressure. Ruler is so incredibly strong. And Afreeca, after that kill onto the Zoe, just look like they don't have any way to get on top of him. They need flashes to come back up, but they don't have the one on aiming. Jelly does have his, Dread has his, but Keen can't flash to get any sort of rune prison or anything like that. Now Gen.G with complete control of this Baron area, although they don't clear out that control ward. This is going to be really scary.
I think it's time to run a Baron again.
Yeah, we're going for another YOLO.
All right, Smite, then Ren. Smite, then Ren. Smite, then Ren.
Well, True Shot Barrage is only going to find Sun. Jelly is at full health. They're looking for the turn, but you can see Dread just takes so much damage here.
Smite, then Ren.
Yep, can we get it? We're at 5,000 health currently. That's a great pulverize. As now the Devour has to be used on the Olaf. That means that the Ezreal's not going to be as safe. Two-man Shockwave. He's going to be there on the front line, and immediately Keen is taken out. Jelly's going to follow. It's a kill for the Nara. It's a kill for the Ezreal. Make that a double as the Callista's going to go down. That Mystic Shot doesn't land, but Gen.G have won the fight, and they're looking to just win the game.
They're going to probably be able to do it, Atlas. Afreeca were too greedy. They were trying to leash the Baron and also look for the fight. They get the sticks in, but the sticks aren't going to be enough. They try to shake a stick at Gen.G, but Gen.G outlasts them. The interrupt in the back there might help with this finish.
Yep, and we were talking about the Griffin Hanwha series yesterday, the blowout that was game number 1. We said that's not going to affect the mental. This is a game that throws your mental through a complete loop. Yeah, I know. And we were watching Challenger earlier today. I thought that was going to be the most tilting game of the day. It's going to be this one as Gen.G steal the victory from the Afreeca Freecs and keep KT's hopes alive.
Afreeca Freecs giveth, Afreeca Freecs throw away is the only way to think about this one. Afreeca was so far ahead, they did so much right, and then aiming face checked and everything fell apart in multiple ways. Aiming and Dread need to just have some trust falls, because if this was the real life trust fall where you have to catch your friend, I think they might have to go to the hospital after this one, Atlas. I don't know, man. That was, for that to happen this many best of ones into the season, they've played 30-odd games already, is a bad look for Afreeca Freecs. And Gen.G, they've got something around them, and KT fans, the most affected by this now, Gen.G 1 game away from all but relegating KT roster.
Yeah, they certainly got the panic attacks starting, the KT fans, but thankfully they're used to it. It's a roller coaster of a life that we lead if we believe in KT roster, so Gen.G save it. At the very last second, the draft had one thing that it could do from Gen.G. It was, let's weather the storm, hope that they don't get too many Infernals, steal a Baron in the mid-game, and then hopefully transition that to a late-game win. And that was precisely what happened, guys. But that's not what should have happened at all.
But the thing is, I actually object to the way you say it, because you say they can win in the late game, but that's not even something you control, really, on your side, especially not in this game. It's not like Peanut popped off in the early game. This is very much, they can come to the party 40 minutes after it starts, but they were told it was a 30-minute party. It was supposed to be over.
And then they need to play the catch-up once they get to the party as well. That's going to take an extra half an hour. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh, man.
That definitely should not have been.
This was some Benjamin Button-Lee. I aged in reverse here. Oh. I should just shave before the next game starts.
And the fact that you have aiming getting caught by just face-checking a brush for no reason.
Why?
Into instantly losing a smite that's not even a 50-50 on a Baron, giving away a second Infernal Drake to a team that shouldn't have been able to get to the Dragon Pit.
I brought paracetamol.
Yeah, we're going to need that one, Papa Smithy. And I know you didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Unfortunately, this isn't a nightmare. This is, in fact, real life.
This is life, baby.
Yeah.
This was a fun one, honestly. Like, yes, it's very tilting for both teams, and it's frustrating to see Afreeca, a young squad, look like they're growing, and then just summarily, like...
The early game was so good, Papa. That's why it's so bad. They built us up just so they could smash us down.
But isn't that what the young guns do? They show us... They flirt with being the next level players, and then
flirting
of course,
with greatness and then letting us down is what happened, Papa.
For a second, it was Afreeca Freecs Spring 2018, and then it was Afreeca Freecs Spring 2019. The nameplates were back on, and Roller did a lot of damage. It shouldn't have mattered, but it did.
It did. He did an incredible